Celebrities are ordinary humans too, and sometimes ordinary humans need to give up their children for adoption. These stories don't make the headlines often, so stay tuned to hear about all the secret children of famous people. Celebs who gave their children up for adoption. 19. Roseanne Barr. Barr was only 17 years old when she became pregnant, and this was long before she started her acting career. As a teenager, she gave birth to her daughter, Brandy Brown. Barr gave her up for adoption because she was young, was unwed, and didn't have enough money to support a child. It wasn't all sad though. When Brandy was 18, she was reunited with her birth mother. Brandy even went on to work on the Roseanne series as a production assistant. 18. Clark Gable. This legendary Hollywood star had many secrets. Today, we'll talk about one. As a teenager, he knew he wanted to be an actor. Gable went on to star in many movies, and by the 1930s, he became an established name in Hollywood. In 1931, Gable married his second wife, Maria Langham. In 1935, he had an affair with actress Loretta Young. The two had a child named Judy. They gave her up to an orphanage to avoid any scandal. Young then went back to the orphanage to take Judy back. Gable and Judy never ended up having a relationship and only ever met once. 17. Albert Einstein. Albert Einstein was married to his first wife, Mileva Maric, between 1903 to 1919. They had their first child together in 1902. They named the girl Lucille. The public didn't know about Einstein's child until 1986, when Einstein's granddaughter discovered letters between Maric and Einstein that spoke of the child. From the writings, it appears as though they planned to give up Lucille for adoption. The letters also suggest that Einstein and Maric's friend, Helene Savage, adopted Lucille. 16. Ted Nugent. Ted Nugent joined the Amboy Dukes band as the lead guitarist in 1963 and then later became a solo artist. He's now 70 years old and is still working to this day. Nugent has been married twice and has 6 kids with 4 different women. Before his first marriage, he and his girlfriend had 2 kids, Ted and Louisa. The two were adopted separately and did not know about each other until the adoption became public knowledge in 2010. Since then, Louisa, Ted Jr., and Nugent have reconciled. Nugent says he told his other kids about their older siblings a long time ago. 15. Caitlyn Lowell. The MTV reality series 16 and Pregnant first aired in 2009. The cast of the first season included Caitlyn Lowell and her then boyfriend Tyler Baltiera. As the show suggests, she was a teenager when she was with child. Lowell gave birth to Carolyn in May that year. Brandon and Therese Davis adopted the child. In 2014, Lowell gave birth to hers and Baltiera's second child, Novalee Rain, and a year later, Lowell and Baltiera married. In 2018, Baltiera and Lowell announced the birth of their third daughter, Veda Luma. 14. Rod Stewart. If you know anything about Rod Stewart, aside from his music career, you know that he has 7 kids. Make that 8. His first child was Sarah Streeter, who was born in 1963 to Stewart and his then girlfriend, Susanna Boffey, when they were only teenagers. Boffey tried to raise Sarah by herself, but eventually had to give her up because Boffey couldn't do it on her own. Though Stewart attempted to contact Sarah in the 80s, he didn't get very far because both Sarah and Boffey held a lot of bitterness against him. However, by the time Sarah was in her 50s, she and Stewart finally met. 13. Dirk Benedict. Actor and author Dirk Benedict is best known for his role as Lieutenant Starbuck on the original Battlestar Galactica series and as Lieutenant Peck on the A-Team. His real name is Dirk Nijwener, but changed his stage name to Benedict. Some say it's because he loves Eggs Benedict. His career started in 1972, and he was married to actress Toni Hudson from 1986 to 1995. In 1998, he learned he had a son named John Talbot. Talbot's mother was a college girlfriend of Benedict's who never told him she was pregnant. She ended up giving Talbot up for adoption. 12. Hank Williams. Hank Williams is considered one of the most influential American singers of the 20th century. Williams was born in 1923 and passed away just before he would turn 30. He recorded 35 singles, with 5 of those released posthumously. Williams' first wife was Audrey Shepard. Together, they had a son named Randall Hank Williams. He went on to have a career of his own under the stage name Hank Williams Jr. In the 50s, Williams Sr. had an affair with a woman named Bobby Jett. Jett gave birth to a girl, Jet Williams. 5 days after Jet Williams was born, Williams passed away. 11. Heidi Klum. In 2003, Heidi Klum dated Italian businessman Flavio Briatore. A few months later, Klum became pregnant with her first child. Briatore and Klum broke up before she gave birth. While still pregnant, Klum began dating Henry Samuel, better known as Seal. When Klum's daughter, Helene Lenny Klum, was born, Seal was there at the hospital. Klum says that Briatore was in no way involved in Lenny's life and that Seal is Lenny's real father. After Seal and Klum married, Briatore agreed to allow Seal to adopt Lenny. 10. Jay Thomas. Jay Thomas is a comedian, actor, and radio personality. Aside from his work on the radio for KPWR in Los Angeles, he also starred on the show Mork and Mindy and Cheers. He's also made several appearances on The Late Show with David Letterman. Thomas is currently 69 years old and retired from the entertainment business in 2017. Before his career started, Thomas's then-girlfriend became pregnant. Together, they decided they would give the child up for adoption. A family in Michigan adopted their son named John. Thomas and John reunited in 2007 and now regularly keep in touch. 9. Duane Lee Chapman. You know Duane Lee Chapman as Dog the Bounty Hunter. In 1976, Chapman spent 3 years in a Texas prison. He didn't have much going for him and decided to turn his life around when he got out. Chapman became a bounty hunter and a bail bondsman. He became famous for starring in the reality TV series Dog the Bounty Hunter, which aired from 2004 to 2012. Where does the kid fit into all of this? Long before all of this started, in the 60s, when Chapman was only a teenager, his girlfriend became pregnant. She never told Chapman about the child. The child, Christopher, was given up for adoption, and Chapman didn't know about the son until Christopher's grandmother told him. 8. David Crosby. American singer-songwriter David Crosby was a founding member of the Byrds and Crosby, Stills and Nash. Since 1971, he has performed mostly as a solo act. He is now 77 years old and continues to make music. Like many rock stars, Crosby's younger years is full of fame, but also substance abuse and partying. He started his career as a musician in 1964. 2 years prior, he had a son, James Raymond, who Crosby and his former girlfriend gave up shortly after James was born. James Raymond ended up becoming a musician himself, working as a composer and keyboardist. Then he found out that his real dad is David Crosby. Since they reunited, the two have even performed together. 7. Mercedes Ruehl. Younger audiences may not be too familiar with the name Mercedes Ruehl anymore, but once upon a time, she had a thriving career. In the 90s, she won both a Tony and an Oscar. Most recently, she starred in a few episodes of the show Power and continues to work in theater. Back when she was 28 years old, right before her career took off, she gave birth to a son named Christopher, who she gave up. In 1995, she adopted a son, Jake, with her husband, David Geiser. A few years later, she was reunited with Christopher. He ended up becoming Jake's godfather. 6. Patti Smith. Rock star, poet, and visual artist Patti Smith has been dubbed the Punk Poet Laureate. It's hard to believe she's now 72 years old. She became famous thanks to the song Because the Night, co-written with Bruce Springsteen. When Smith was 19 years old, she became pregnant out of wedlock. During her pregnancy, Smith's parents sent her to a foster home to keep the baby a secret. Being very young and having no money, Smith gave up her baby immediately after giving birth. As far as anyone knows, the two have not met again. 5. Joni Mitchell. Joni Mitchell already broke up with former boyfriend Brad McMath when she found out she was pregnant. She had just started her music career and had no money to pay for heat in her house, let alone raise a child alone. It was 1964, and abortion and the pill were not available in Canada. A child out of wedlock was also looked down upon, so Mitchell saw she had no choice. The public was unaware of Mitchell's child until 1993, when her former roommate sold the story to a tabloid magazine. At the time, Mitchell's daughter, Lauren Gibb, was already searching for her biological parents. The two reunited in 1997. 4. Kate Mulgrew. Kate Mulgrew is best known for her roles as Captain Catherine Janeway on Star Trek Voyager and as Red on Orange is the New Black. She began acting at the age of 17 when she was accepted into the Stella Adler Conservatory of Acting in New York. In her junior year, Mulgrew landed a role on the soap opera Ryan's Hope. When she accepted the position, she discovered she was pregnant. The producers didn't want to hire anyone else, so they wrote Mulgrew's pregnancy into the show. However, because she had no support from her family or the baby's dad, Mulgrew had to give up her child for adoption. She tried looking for her child not long after she gave her up, but couldn't find her until the late 80s. 3. Chuck Norris. Walker, Texas Ranger himself, had a child that was given up for adoption. Martial artist and actor Chuck Norris had an affair with a woman during the 1960s. He didn't know she became pregnant with their daughter, Dina. The woman married someone else shortly after the romance and raised her daughter with Dina thinking that the woman's husband was her birth father. When Dina was much older, she overheard her mother saying that her real dad was Chuck Norris. Dina soon reached out to Norris, and they eventually reconciled. 2. Peter Michael Escovedo. Peter Michael Escovedo is the brother of singer and actress Sheila E. Peter himself is also a musician and comes from a famous musical family. He and his partner, Karen Moss, had a daughter together, but could not afford to provide for her. That daughter is Nicole Richie. When she was 3 years old, Richie moved in with adopted parents Lionel Richie and Brenda Harvey. Richie is one of the many celebrities that were adopted, a list that includes the likes of Marilyn Monroe, Kristen Chenoweth, Steve Jobs, and Jamie Foxx. Before we reveal number 1, we have a question to ask. Who is a celebrity you think is hiding a big secret? What do you think that secret is? Let us know your conspiracies in the comments below. 1. Lucille Ball. She's famous for starring in self-produced sitcoms such as I Love Lucy, Here's Lucy, The Lucy Show, and more. If you're familiar with Lucille Ball, then you also know she was married to Desi Arnaz for a while. The two divorced in 1960, and Ball married Gary Morton. In 1989, Ball passed away, and it wasn't until 2014 did a woman come forward and say she was Ball's granddaughter. The woman, Cassandra Carlson, claimed that her mother, Madeline Jane Dee, was given up for adoption in 1951. Carlson says she remembers a red-headed woman named Mrs. Morton coming to visit her when she was a child. She has been trying to obtain DNA samples for years, but the Ball Arnaz family has refused to offer any. Thank you for watching. If you liked our video, give it a thumbs up. For more content from us, subscribe to our channel and turn on that bell notification.